Good afternoon. Today is Wednesday, March 20th, 2024. I hereby call the Election and Campaign Finance Subcommittee to order. Madam Secretary, please take the roll.
Representative Burkhart. Representative Doggett. Representative Helton Haynes. Representative Miller. Representative Moon. Representative Warner. Chairman Crawford. Chairman Rudd.
Here.
Chairman Rudd, you have a quorum.
Thank you. Before we begin, do any of the members have any personal orders? Chairman Doggett.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Members, I have with me today a shadow, Miss Cheyenne, on the front row here. She is from Morristown, Tennessee. Mr. Representative Rick Eldridge is her representative.
Welcome. Today we have 6 bills on the calendar. First up is a bill called HB 0133 by Leader Lamberth, and he is in the room. We have a motion and a second. Please, do you have an amendment?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. Should be a timely
Please.
filed amendment coded 016044.
That's what we have. You want that on the bill?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman.
Motion, we have a motion second on the amendment. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, nay. The amendment is on the bill. Please tell us about your amended bill.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. In general, this just moves the petition filing deadline back to March, and it moves it back to noon. And it's on this would be for the primary, basically, that we're preparing for right now for the August primary and November elections. It just shifts that back to the first week of March instead of first week of April.
We had one question. Do you mind?
Thank you,
Todd
Mr.
Warner,
Chairman,
please.
and thank you, Mr. Chairman, again for your withdrawal. And thank you, Lady, for bringing this bill. We discussed this bill previously. I think it's a good bill, and just thank you for bringing the bill.
Thank you.
Seeing no further questions, Chairman Crawford, we have a question on the bill. Seeing no objections, we're voting on the bill. HB 0133 as amended. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, nay. Bill moves on.
Thank you,
to
Mr. Chairman,
full
and members of
local.
the committee. Thank y'all.
Next up is HB 2096 by Chairman Vaughn. He is not in the room. We will row to the call of the chair. Next up is item 3, HB 2187 by Representative Powell. He is not in the room. We will row to the call of the chair. Let's see. One moment, please. Item number 4, HB 2654 by Representative Chisholm. He is not in the room. We roll to the call of the chair. Item number 5, HB 2634 by Representative McKenzie. Thank you for being here. Do I hear a motion?
Motion.
Your motion and second on the bill. Do you have an amendment?
No, sir.
No amendments. Please tell us about your bill.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This bill is a simple bill that deletes a piece of code that makes our voting process a lot more simple and streamlined for the average voter going to the polls.
What was there any questions on the bill? Chairman Doggett.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and sponsor. So this is removing the bona fide status for someone to vote in a party's primary election. Is that correct?
That is correct. You know, we just had in Knox County, I guess, the first opportunity to actually have that, and then talking with the folks from all sides on our election officials working that, they got a lot more questions about that, didn't fully understand why this posting was there, and it confuses the process. So I feel that removing that piece will just let folks know. They'll be asked the question and they can answer that question.
Chairman Doggett.
Thank you. Could the state parties not do this already with their bylaws and just remove the bona fide status from allowing people to vote in their primaries?
Go ahead.
Thank you for that question. To my knowledge, that answer is no. I've asked on the local level that they have interpreted this as a mandatory thing from the Elections Commission. It's not party driven.
Now, are you referring to the posting of the sign that they could be breaking law if they cross over? Yes.
Yes.
Well, this bill doesn't actually address that. This is doing what the bill doesn't create a bona fide status. It only posted a sign warning that there's a state law that says you could be breaking the law. It doesn't actually do anything with bona fide status. You would actually be removing that beyond what the sign did, wouldn't you? Yes.
Thank you for that. What my piece of legislation does is simply removes that sign. It doesn't, to your point, it doesn't change the law or change anything with it. Just the posting of that sign, because the posting of that sign, as I said earlier, what it's done, it's created a level of confusion that we felt didn't exist, and by we mean people coming to me didn't exist before. People understand what the law is, and if they don't, they're subject to the law. But the sign introduced more confusion than it did clarity.
Chairman Crawford.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Can I ask if we go out of session? I have a question for legal.
All right. Any objections? Go out of session for legal. We're out of session.
Legal, just looking at this and the way I read it, basically, we would be telling the parties, Democrat, Republican, all sides, that they could not have a bona fide status for their candidates. Is that what this bill's doing?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Josh Houston, Legal Services. No, this doesn't have anything to do with the status of the candidates. This is about whether or not you are entitled to vote in a primary election. This is taking out that one of the requirements is that either you are a bona fide member of and affiliated with a political party in whose primary you seek to vote, or at the time the voter seeks to vote, the voter declares allegiance to the political party in whose primary the voter seeks to vote and states that the voter intends to affiliate with that party. It's taking that out. So then you wouldn't have to be bona fide member of the party or say that you're affiliating with the party to vote in that primary. You just say, I want to vote in that primary or that primary.
Chairman Crawford.
Thank you. Legal, so this, if you're considered bona fide, that is done through the state parties and is not done through the election commission. So I'm confused on how we have authority to tell the state parties what to do.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Josh Houston. This is about who is authorized to vote in the primary elections. I'm not sure that we're necessarily telling the parties what to do. We're just saying that anyone would be allowed to vote in a primary election as they just chose which one that they wanted to vote in.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
So, and Chairman Rudd, so in this case, this isn't really about the sign. It's eliminating the part of the law that makes the sign necessary.
Yes, it does both things. It deletes the requirement that you are bona fide or you are declaring allegiance, and then because of that, the sign would then be unnecessary, and so it's deleted
So
as well.
the current law that says it, depending on the circumstance of the violation of current law, it could be a misdemeanor or a felony. That would be wiped out because they wouldn't be breaking the law anymore.
That's correct.
There would be no party really. They could just vote anywhere they wanted. There'd be a party, but the party would have no control over, and anybody could vote in anybody's primary, and it wouldn't be illegal.
I mean, as it stands right now, if a person just says that they declare allegiance to a political party and ask for that ballot, then they can vote in that primary. This would just, that would take away the questions. It wouldn't be asked, which do you declare allegiance to any party? It would just, which ballot would you like to have to vote on?
All right, any other questions? Illegal? Yes.
Thank you,
Miller.
Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, you mentioned and in the legislation, you're saying that it deletes the Class C misdemeanor, but you can tell me exactly what that is. But you also mentioned it could be a felony currently. legal, could you explain, are we removing not just the Class C misdemeanor, but the felony as well?
Yes, the provision that's being changed here in 27115, it could be a misdemeanor under 219 102, or it could be a felony under 219 107, which is illegal registration or voting. So if you're voting in a primary that you're not eligible to vote in, then that could be,
A felony.
yes.
Thank you.
Any other questions of legal? If not, we go back into session. I think Representative McKenzie, I don't know if this is doing what you intended. This isn't really about the sign. It's eliminating the state laws that the sign would make necessary. So if we eliminate laws, there's no consequences for crossing over or violating laws. Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. And thank you for that question. But this, in our history, in the state of Tennessee's history, this has the way we voted up until this last set of elections that happened after July. That's the way we've done it, and it has worked well. We have currently we've had a party in strong control. I don't think this law does anything to change that. What is done? To me, it's like if we go out into our community and talking about calling for the previous question and talk about things that are unique to in our case the General Assembly, there's confusion. Similarly, having a sign there and having a question that swearing allegiance to this party and where you can actually go to jail for that when they're really only a Republican or a Democrat, and when you ask them the question which ballot that they want, it's clear. This has introduced both, as you say, a huge amount of confusion to the process, to all the folks who aren't experts in the election, the average voter, our average constituent, and it's also introduced a jail sentence for making what might be a simple mistake. So that's why I'm bringing this piece of legislation.
Well, again, Representative McKenzie, I think that's been the biggest misunderstanding of the signposting and the reason for it. That signposting doesn't make anything illegal. That law is already in place. We've always known that there's a Class C misdemeanor if you knowingly cross over and then cross back over. We didn't even know there was already a law on the books that could also, depending on the level of the conspiracy and the level of the action, that could be a felony. We felt that a misdemeanor is one thing, but a felony is another. And we felt, and I understand the reason that's in the books. I wanted a sign posted so people would know they could be committing a crime much more serious than a misdemeanor. And that's the reason for the posting, because I think we'd be doing a disservice to the public if we found out that any law has such a severe penalty, depending on the conditions of the violation, that they could be going to jail rather than just getting fined. And that's the reason for the sign posting. Now, your legislation goes way, way beyond just taking the sign down. It's changing law, taking it's doing two things. It's taking the bona fide status, which under current state law, which was discussed in court when the bill was upheld. It's in the purview of the county of the state parties to set the bona fide status. How many times you vote, the conditions you get bona fide. So we've left, since the parties control their own primaries and their own process, we've left the bona fide status up to the parties to define. And so you're taking that away from the parties, and then you're taking Tennessee from a semi-closed state to an open state where we don't anybody can vote in the primary legally. So I think it's treading on dangerous ground. That's just my personal opinion. But it's going way beyond just removing the sign. It's actually changing the penalties and what's violation of the law. Mr. McKenzie, thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions on the bill? Seeing none. No objections. We'll be voting on HB 2634 by Representative McKenzie. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, nay. No. Bill fails.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and committee.
And Chairman Vaughn, welcome. Let's see. Go. Let's see, let me get over to you. Item number 2, HB 2096 by Chairman Vaughn. Do you have an amendment? Oh, first of all, I have a motion and a second on the bill. I have motion second on the bill. You have an amendment? Give us your, oh, we have an untimely filed amendment. It's your amendment, correct?
Yes, sir.
What is the code on that?
It is 16168.
That's what I have. Are there any objections to filing an untimely amendment? Do we need to vote on that? Yeah, we need to vote on filing the untimely amendment. Do I hear a motion? Or I guess tell us what your untimely amendment is before we discuss whether we want to put it on there. We have a motion and a second on the amendment. Tell us about your amendment.
The amendment changes the situation under which election commissions could actually purchase voting machines themselves. The initial bill considered the fact that they could do it with regular county general obligation or general fund dollars. What this does is this limits it to whenever there's been an award by a grant issued by the state or by the federal government for the purchase of new election.
And the amendment also state that if they are using county funds, they must go to the county commission?
Yes, sir. Well,
Okay.
it leaves it the way it is today in statute.
Okay. Any questions on the amendment? Seeing none, we're voting on the amendment 16168. We're voting to take the untimely filed amendment. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, nay. We have agreed to take it. Now we have amendment number 16168 to attach to the bill. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, nay. Amendment is attached to the bill 2096. Tell us about your amended bill, but does that make the bill?
It does. The bill was initially stating that the responsibility for the purchase of election equipment be transferred. We had a situation in the county, in Shelby County, to where the election commission selected a vendor for new voting machines. The county commission refused to fund that because they wanted a different type machine. So there was a stalemate. There was lawsuits filed, and in the interim, we had antiquated voting machines that had to support an election, and ultimately it was a donation of machines from the Secretary of State's office to shut down to get the polls open. And so it just created this headbutting between these two groups, eventually led to problems. And so what this does is, since there's no way to fund it through the election commission, we changed it over to where if it's a federal grant or a state grant, then those funds could be accepted by the election commission and the machines could be purchased.
And the current rule, I believe, is still in place that they can only purchase machines that have been certified and approved by the Secretary of State and Coordinator of Elections.
Yes, sir. That's
Okay.
correct. We're not messing with those.
And there's another part of the bill, disposal of machines.
Yes, sir. It's still the county election commission's responsibility to ensure the destruction of those machines when they become obsolete.
Any questions on the bill? Seeing none, we're ready to vote on the bill. We are voting on HB 2096 as amended. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Well, I heard 2 ayes, so the bill passes on to a local
There was a
full.
great deal of excitement in the room for that one. I was going to say, yes, thank you. There you go.
Next up is item number 3, HB 2187 by Representative Powell. We have a motion and second on the bill. You have any amendments?
No amendments. Mr.
All right.
Chair.
Tell us about your bill.
So this bill simply allows a county election commission to designate a restroom facilities in a building in which an election is to be held for the use of the workers or volunteers working on the campaign. It would also require that the worker remove or cover their clothing with any campaign materials, or else they would be subject to a Class C misdemeanor.
Have questions on the bill? I hear grunts, but no questions. Seeing no questions on the bill, we are voting on the bill, HB 2187 by Representative Powell. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, nay.
No.
Bill fails.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Committee.
Item, oh, there you are. I know I saw you earlier. Item number 4, HB 2654 by Representative Chisholm. We have a motion and a second on the bill. You have any amendments on the bill? No amendments on the bill. Tell us about your bill, sir.
Thank you, Chairman and Committee. And thank you for your indulgence. I brought to you House Bill 2654, where each election commission shall include on the November 24th election ballot the following question. Should the state of Tennessee legalize the sale, possession, and use of medical marijuana? Yes or no? In Section 2, the Secretary of State shall compile the results of the public policy opinion poll and forward the results to each member of the General Assembly. The outcome of the public policy opinion poll is not binding on the General Assembly. Ladies and gentlemen of the committee, I've talked to many of you, and I've been told that the state of Tennessee doesn't really have a precedent of ballot initiatives or referendums. Well, ladies and gentlemen, this bill is neither. I spared this committee my thoughts on the subject matter of marijuana. But if this bill passed, it would not enact nor ratify any law. This straw or Gallup poll just merely asks the billion-dollar question that we've debated for years. If the people say they don't want this, myself and others, we'll stop bringing legislation as regards to legalization. Now, if they do say that they want this, I'm confident that many of my colleagues on the opposing opinion will also be willing to change their views as well. But in essence, I would like to ask the people what they think. So thank you for your consideration, and I stand by for any questions.
Let's see. Chairman Doggett.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And why November? Why not August?
Oh, Representative Chisholm, go ahead.
Thank you for the question. Well, the November election is a presidential election. And as we all know, we get the highest turnouts during presidential elections. So that would get us a more accurate feel on how our constituents feel, since we will have more of them voting for the November election.
Chairman Doggett, any follow-up? No, sir. I think I believe, I may be mistaken, I think the last time we addressed this was by Representative Griffey. It's not about medical marijuana or any subject matter. The problem that we've had in the past is if we allow public paid polling rather than candidates and organizations paying for their own poll, we're going to set a precedent of allowing the ballot to be filled with ballot initiatives or basically polling by ballot. And we could literally have 50 subjects on there, and I don't think the public should be paying for polling. That should be up to candidates and organizations, is how we've addressed this in the past. But that was just wanted to bring that up. Why we'd always not approved this in the past was because of that. We didn't think the public should be paying for polling, and the polling question can sometimes be vague on a subject. Representative Chisholm.
Yes, sir. Thank you for those comments. I believe this subject matter differs in the fact that there are billions of dollars that are at stake here, as well as the freedom and the status of so many constituents. This subject matter touches so many people that I believe that it would be a good cause. I think it'd be money well spent on getting a temperature on how our constituents feel on this particular subject matter.
All right. Any other questions on the bill? Oh, Representative Miller.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Not a question as much as thank you for bringing the bill. I think it's a good initiative. And Mr. Chairman, based on some of your comments and references, I agree. If you open this up, what happens next year with the number of ballot requests? But this General Assembly has always been able to say, we're going to limit you to what's going to be offered in this General Assembly. We've done that. And there's nothing to say that next year or whenever, if a number of members, 99 members, decide that they wanted to bring an initiative, we would certainly say, no, we can't do it that way. It may be a situation where we go to each party and simply says you can only request one initiative for this year, both parties or two, and limit it that way. So it's a way to stop that from happening if we wanted to. But I think at some point in time, it's a good thing to take something before the voters. And quite often, the voters are paying for polling. It depends on, they are, indirectly, we are doing it anyway. So thank you for the bill. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Any, Chairman Doggett?
Thank you. I would just ask, do we not give the voters an opportunity to discuss these initiatives as their representatives? That's what they sent us here to do, is to take their initiatives that they bring to us and ask for us to do that on their behalf. Doing polling on the ballot, I think is inappropriate. Now, had this language read differently, that the state of Tennessee legalized something, that would be giving them a vote. But at the same time, that's what they elect representatives and senators to do. So that's just my thoughts for what they're worth.
Any other, Representative Chisholm?
Thank you for that. As there's a lot of independent polling that's gone out about this particular subject matter, and the polling both in rural and urban districts, Democrat and Republican districts, have been different from the makeup of our body even. So again, I believe that's one of the good reasons to actually put it on the ballot, because many times, all of us are here to represent our constituents, but ever so often we vote differently than our constituents would like. And this gives us an opportunity to just see the gauge, just to see the temperature of our constituents all over the state. This is not a Memphis bill. It's not a bill that coming from any one particular district, but all of our districts. And by the way, this particular piece of legislation is bipartisan thus far as well.
I remember a few years ago, we did polling and we asked a question when you delve deeper into it. If you ask the general question, like on medical marijuana, most people say, yeah, I'm for medical marijuana. When you ask the question, would you be in favor of medical marijuana be bought anywhere, such as a vape store? They're overwhelmingly no. Would you be for medical marijuana if it's prescribed by a doctor and filled by pharmacy? It was yes. So like I said, it all depends on how you ask the question in any poll. But it gets back, that poll, of course, was private polling paid for, not public ballot polling. But it's all in how you ask the question on anything. But any close? Yes, Representative Chisholm.
Yes, sir. Thank you for that as well. Well, this question doesn't ask the question whether or not it should be sold at a vape store or a medical facility. This bill merely asks the question, should we go forth with legalization? And the details, we could tackle those things at another time.
Any other questions from the committee? Seeing none, we are voting on HB 2654 by Representative Chisholm. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. No. Bill fails.
That sounded like an aye.
Hey, Lee. Okay, wanted to make sure I was doing this. Next up is HB 1798 by me. Where I'm going to be rolling that 1 week to work out to have legal work out the work on the amendment, which changes the bill. And we'll be running that next week. And let's see, I have an announcement to make. Where is my, there we go. Next week will be, March 27th will be our last meeting, providing we get finished. And the deadline to place bills on notice will be today, March 20th, 2024, close of business at 3:30. So if you're going to be heard next week. With that, before we close, any members have any announcements or personal orders? Seeing none, do I hear a motion to adjourn? I hear a motion to adjourn and I heard one objection. We are adjourned.